getting told, don't spend so much. Don't spend so much. Don't spend so much. Why? I wasn't getting it. I just wasn't getting it until I finally just said, enough of all of you people. I'm sick of all you people. I don't want to hear from any more of you people. I want an accounting. I want it now.
In the end, when he went to court to compel that accounting, he found that after everyone else was paid, there was almost nothing left for him.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? Say, baby. Say hello to Mr. J.
Did you notice anything unusual about Henry the maintenance man?
Yeah, it was wet. I guess the man sweats a lot.
Yeah, and this time he certainly had a lot of help. Did you do it?
Do what?
You know what? Henry was hit from above with a bag full of water.
No.
Weren't you?
No. Don't even ask. I'm not him. I've never been him. I can't even stand the little creep. His name's Jenkins. Cupid Jenkins. I'm returning your page, dog.
You really Cupid?
Oh, you just used to having little people with wings materialize in your apartment every night.
Coleman speaks out on the subject of milk.
If it's so good for you, how come we live longer than cows?
See Kerry in his new series this November on NBC.
Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Talking to us?
Of course.
How about that, Willis? Downtown 2 minutes and already Regina. Welcome, little brother. What you smoking?
Arnold, what are you doing?
Oh, nothing.
What is that under your nose?
My gift.
I've never seen a black goldfish before.
That's okay. He never saw a rich white man before either.
You could have gotten killed.
Yeah, well, so could these kids in the back seat.
Hi there.
Yeah, hi there. What are you doing in this car? It is loaded with dynamite.
What you talking about, Knight Rider?
Aw, he can't dance. Move, I'll show you some dancing.
I always, kid with my friends. Well, actually, it's a half kid, really. I'd be quite honest with you. I know you. I used to hang out over in one of the studios, so I can talk to you and tell you, it's a half kid where if someone had told me that my life would have been like this early enough where I could have got out, I would have got out. I'd say, no. I want to go and have a normal life and have friends.
Would have said, the hell with the show business career
Yeah,
and all of that stuff.
yeah. It's a half kid because I still think about that. That's something that I fantasize about because now here we are in 1993. I'm 25 years old. I'm a world-renowned celebrity. There's no place I can go where no one doesn't know me.
Right.
And I handle it because I'm a public figure. I'm supposed to be gracious and have fun doing what I do. I love the work. I truly love making people laugh. But of course, since you and I know where we are now and what the business is about, there are aspects of the business that I don't really care for.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have time to worry about how badly someone's going to hurt me.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to do good things that make me feel good and hopefully make a whole bunch of other people feel good. I will always be honest. I will always try to be as clear in communicating how I really feel and what the absolute truth is.
Gary Coleman, he's the star of the 70s TV series Different Strokes.
He also starred in a run for governor of California, and he's now covering the Michael Jackson trial for All Comedy Radio. Gary, I want to ask you about this concept of having a childhood stolen and how Macaulay Culkin and Michael Jackson share that. But first things first, let's talk about the news of the day. You were there. Talk about the atmosphere around the trial today as Macaulay Culkin went in to testify for his friend Michael Jackson.
And I can certainly tell you, based on last week and this week, it's definitely appearing to me that this is a show trial. It's a revenge trial. Tom Sneddon always said he was going to try and get Michael Jackson one way or another. And it was really proven to me when he didn't redepose his witnesses on the stand when they didn't say what he wanted them to say to get Michael Jackson convicted. That really proved it to me.
Talk about Macaulay Culkin having a special bond with Michael Jackson because they were, like you, they were both child stars. They both talked about having their childhood stolen. Do you think that Macaulay Culkin would be more likely to stick together with Michael Jackson, or you, others like you, because you all have shared that same experience?
Oh, well, you know, in Hollywood, there's a group of people who actually do participate in that kind of hand-holding kind of atmosphere, a self-help, if you will. It's called a minor consideration. I don't know if Michael Jackson is into that kind of thing, but I certainly understand the kindred spirit aspect of it, except that's not something that I've ever experienced personally myself.
From what we understand, you're out there reporting for All Comedy Radio. Is that correct?
I try to poke fun at the fact that Michael Jackson is in court for something that now, obviously, he didn't do. What's on my favorite guy? What's on here? Hey! This is Shannon. S-H-A-N-O-N. You can spell it right.
I was scared you weren't going to come. Because I understand you two got into an argument right before you got here and possibly weren't going to make it.
That was one of those ugly ones we have once a month.
Well, which we want to stop. We want to stop the ugly ones a
I'd like
month.
to stop it because I'm 40 years old and I can't do this for another 30 years.
You can't take it. What happened on this last ugly one that you usually have once a month?
Well, they're all different, but they're all centered around me. You know, the male is always the bad guy. The male is the one that's causing all the problems.
But you understood he didn't want children when you married him.
Right.
What did you think was going to happen?
Probably.
Once you got married, what did you think? You could convince him? You could talk him into it? You could oops it?
No.
And just accidentally have one?
No.
Yeah,
He's
that's
hard
the look I
convincing.
have on my
He's
face
hard
every day.
convincing.
Yeah.
He's hard to convince.
That look.
Mrs. Price, let's talk about Mr. Coleman for a moment. You say he's got anger issues.
Yes. If he doesn't get his way, he throws a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old does. And he, stomps the floor, and he's like, "Meh!" He starts throwing stuff around, and he bashes his head in the wall, too.
Attorney Lisa Bloom, go at it.
You know what? If people would want to believe that I assault my wife at 4'7" and she's 5'6", then they can believe that all day long. I don't care.
Well, why don't you flat out deny it then, right here? Because otherwise, everyone's going to look at this and say he's waffling around, and he probably did it.
I don't waffle. There is no abuse that goes on in my house. I don't waffle. Now, if people believe that I'm waffling, then they can go do what they need to do.
Did you abuse your wife? Did you abuse her? Did you lay your hand on her?
And you know what? You can go the same place.
Did you lay your hands on your wife, Gary Coleman? Because she says
drown
you did.
yourself in the ocean.
She says you did.
You know what? I have this on my head because I fell down the stairs. I don't want people thinking that my wife is abusing
Why don't
me.
you want to answer the question about whether you abused
Because
your
you
wife?
can go
And everything else. Pardon me?
You can go yourself.
Really?
And quit asking
Is that
me.
the way you talk to your wife?
Yeah, if I have to, if I need to, but I don't. And I don't know you, and I don't care about
And
you.
is this the kind of
and your
anger
life
that leads to your
doesn't
physical assault?
matter to
of your
me.
wife?
Let me tell you what,
my life
pushing my buttons, and I don't like her now. And the next thing I'm going to do is leave. So all of you.
Gary, come back.
No, you.
Owned several homes in different parts of the immediate Southwest in an effort to try and discover, and I have to say still discover, who and what I am inside. I want to fine-tune that. I want to fine-tune that to a point where it shows through in the characters that I will eventually play. I want people to see even a little bit, the slightest little bit of Gary Coleman. I don't want them to see Arnold. I don't want to see Gary Coleman. I don't want them to see Gary Coleman playing a character. I don't want to see them see Gary Coleman as. I want them to see Gary Coleman playing a part that reminds him a little bit of himself. So that's why I want to fine-tune who and what I am.
He was sick. He has always been sick. He was born sick. He's always going to be sick.
He was sick. He has always been sick. He was born sick. He's always going to be sick.
But he also was sick when he was not working. He decided that he wanted to do these movies.
It was a far cry from the young boy once named the greatest child star of all time.
What you talking about, Willis?
Last year, he reflected on his life and on the parents whom he accused of stealing 3/4 of his television earnings.
I'm still bitter. Still hurts. Yeah, it still hurts. You do midgets, mascots to pay the mortgage.
When your child is sick on the set, throwing up, rejecting his kidney, on dialysis 4 times a day, that's the time for parents to step in and say, Gary, no movie of the week this summer. You should rest. Why didn't you do that?
But, Syria, you don't know whether we didn't do it or not, because if someone else is telling you that we didn't do it, you know.
Well, did you?
Yeah, we did that.
Maybe we did push too hard. It wasn't intentionally, and it was not dollar signs on our part that we were pushing for. It was what Gary liked, what he loved, what he was happy doing.
He made a lot of people a lot of money, grossing some $18 million during his years on Different Strokes. And his parents, as his personal managers, took the biggest cut, 20%. Between that and all the others taking their cuts, Gary Coleman was left with almost nothing.
Why did he end up with so little?
I don't know. I'm not a bookkeeper. I was not an accountant. I didn't handle any finances, everything. All we did was sign documents and gave our approval, but only if the court approved it.
Everybody wanted a piece of me. Everybody wanted a piece of the show. Everybody wanted to be a producer. Everybody wanted to be a consultant. Everybody wanted a piece.
Though California law stated that 25% of his income must be set aside for the future, even that mysteriously disappeared.
I kept getting told, don't spend so much. Don't spend so much. Don't spend so much. Why? I wasn't getting it. I just wasn't getting it until I finally just said, you know, enough of all of you people. I'm sick of all you people. I don't want to hear from any more of you people. I wanted accounting. I want it now.
In the end, when he went to court to compel that accounting, he found that after everyone else was paid, there was almost nothing left for him.
You were fleeced.
Pretty much.
Who walked away with Gary Coleman's millions?
You know, even after the lawsuit was concluded, I still don't know. I don't know where $18 million went.
With nothing to fall back on, he took whatever came his way. And the cameras, it seemed, were there, capturing some of the stranger moments.
You solemnly swear that the testimony...
In 1998, he was dragged into court for attacking a fan seeking an autograph.
So I thought, if I distract her with a blow, I can flee. So I hit her.
There was this strange moment when he worked as a security guard.
Matt, what are you doing?
And when his marriage fell apart, he and his wife took their acrimony to divorce court. A televised one, of course.
I have very low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem?
I don't feel very successful in life.
11 years ago, Sylvia Chase of ABC News' 2020 caught up with Gary Coleman while he was working as a celebrity spokesman for a California restaurant.
I'm not ashamed of making an honest living. $1 is $1, whether it's 1,000 of them or 100 of them. Whether it's, work as a security officer, which I have done, and I am not ashamed of because it's a job. All right, gentlemen, that's a good game. Keep playing it.
It was a far cry from the celebrity money he was making during his time on Different Strokes. First season was $1,500 per episode, then $20,000, then $40,000, until eventually...
And somewhere along the line, it became $70,000.
Per show.
Per show. Yeah, it just kept growing and growing and growing.
What you talking about?
He's a prodigy, really.
Conrad Bain played his adoptive father, Mr. Drummond.
He had comedy timing right from the first line of the first episode. I've never seen a black goldfish before.
That's okay. He never saw a rich white man before either.
But Bain also saw the pain behind the scenes. Coleman was constantly ill, a kidney transplant at age 5, and by the time he was 15, he was on constant dialysis.
He had this huge plastic bag, it had to be that long, full of this dialysis solution. And he had to fill the cavity of his abdomen with that, and then drain it out every 4 hours and refill it.
He says he wouldn't have changed a thing.
How do you escape being bitter? I don't. I chose to be in this business. Ill-informed. I auctioned off my clothes. I even tried to auction off my car. But when you need cash fast, make the cash call.
Just be sure you can afford the monthly payments before you borrow.
What you talking about, cash call? 20 years ago, I made millions and millions on TV. The sad part is the people who took care of the money spent it. Recently, I needed some cash fast. I saw a commercial for Cash Call and called 866-590-CASH. $10,000 was in my account the next day. So if you get into a tight spot and need $5,000 or $10,000, try Cash Call. Cash Call was there when I needed them. That's 866-590-CASH. 866-590-CASH.
In 2009, Shannon was charged with domestic violence and disorderly conduct. This past January, Gary, who already had a few arrests under his belt, was taken in for a domestic violence warrant. This is believed to be his final TV appearance 3 months ago on The Insider.
Did you 911, let's schedule your emergency.
A call for help in the small town of Santaquin, here at the home of child TV star Gary Coleman. The caller, Gary's wife, Shannon Price.
I had my husband go make me some food downstairs. He just got home. I heard this big bang. I went downstairs, blood everywhere. I don't know if he's okay.
The time, 12:50 in the afternoon, a week ago Wednesday.
His head is bloody. There's blood all over the floor. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. I just heard this bang and I went down there and he's on the floor. Send someone quick because I don't even know if he's going to be alive because there's a lot of blood on the floor.
Then something odd happens.
Gary, are you okay?
Shannon says she can't help her dying husband because of an aversion to blood.
Can you go to where he is and help him? He's lethargic. I can't really help him. I just can't be here with the blood. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't. And there's like blood all over and I can't do anything. Where is he at now? On the floor in the kitchen. I've just been kind of sick and, I don't want to be traumatized right now. Is he conscious? I don't know. No, he was like bubbling at the mouth. I'm gagging. I got blood on myself. I can't deal.
Gary then gets up.
Can you tell him to try and put pressure on the back of his head? No, can't. It's like all bloody, and I'm not trying to do. He's not with it. Don't want him to die. I'm freaking out like really bad. Don't move. Stay there, okay? You have to put this on your head. Oh. Keep pressure on this, okay? Hold this. He's bloody like all freaking over. Tell him he needs to sit down. You need to sit down. Sit down. Gary, sit down. What's wrong? Look at the floor. Sit down. Sit down.
Former child television star Gary Coleman is in critical condition near his Utah home, according to a hospital spokesperson. The 42-year-old Coleman was admitted to a Provo facility on Wednesday, but no other details are being released right now. The actor is best known for his stint on TV's Different Strokes, which aired from 1978 to 1986. But he has suffered a string of financial and legal problems over the years, as well as several health problems. In February, Coleman suffered a seizure on the set of The Insider. He's had at least 2 kidney transplants and ongoing dialysis as the result of kidney disease he suffered as a child. Coleman has also had heart surgery that was complicated last fall by pneumonia, according to his attorney.
Well, I tried to talk with him, but he don't want to talk to nobody. He's an angry little guy right now. He is mad at the world, man, and there's nothing I can do to really help him because he don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? He doesn't want help. But you know, I understand why he's so mad at different strokes. I understand that because could you imagine being in his position and being a sick kid, not feeling well, and your parents are forcing you to work? Mm-hmm. You know, I remember seeing him, and there was a day when I was like 13 years old. And this is when he was rejecting a kidney again. And they actually had this boy on the set working. He was throwing up, deathly ill. It looked like he was death-warmed over. And I started crying because I couldn't believe his parents were forcing him to work. And, you know, because there was one time when I was sick, I had like 102 temperature, and my mom took me home and said, "You're not working today." And the actual studio called and told my mom if she didn't get me back to the set, I was going to be fired. Wow. And my mom said, "Well, you're going to have to fire him then because he ain't coming back." Man, we're gonna send our doctor out, and they sent the doctor out, and the doctor said the same thing. The kid's too sick to work. They were playing for keeps back in the day. Yeah, they really got away with a lot, believe me.
They really got away with a lot, believe me.
Well, some sad entertainment news tonight. Actor Gary Coleman, the child star of the sitcom Different Strokes, has died. The 42-year-old suffered an intracranial hemorrhage, and this afternoon he passed away at a Utah hospital. He suffered health problems all his life from the kidney disease that stunted his growth. We'll take a look back at Gary Coleman's life coming up a little later right here.
Gary Coleman, at the age of 42, the one-time child star of the hit 70s sitcom Different Strokes, was taken off life support this afternoon in Utah after suffering a brain hemorrhage. News Channel 5's Liz Nunez looks back at the star's rocky road, both personally and professionally.
What you talking about, Will?
Small in stature, perhaps, but in the late 70s and early 80s, chubby cheeks Gary Coleman was as big as they come.
Arnold, take a letter.
Willis, take a hike.
His signature catchphrase, one of the most recognizable on TV.
Who's talking about Mrs. Reagan?
Starting his career at age 9, Coleman became the highest-paid child actor of his era. Not bad for a kid whose growth was stunted by kidney disease. He'd been in and out of hospitals all his life.
Now, I know a hospital's no bed of roses, but there's no reason to be scared.
Coleman suffered an intracranial hemorrhage Wednesday after a fall at his Salt Lake City home. He was put on life support as he began slipping in and out of consciousness. This afternoon, with friends and family at his side, the former child star was taken off life support at Utah Valley Regional Medical Center. Hours later, he was pronounced dead. As we watched Coleman grow up, we also watched his mounting problems.
No jail time, not leaving my house.
Coleman found trouble, both financial and legal, over the years, including a no-contest plea to assaulting a bus driver in '98. Through it all, he remained confident he could achieve even if away from show business. But now, Coleman's friends, family, and fans are left with his shining memory.
Stand back, everybody. There comes Arnold.
Now, while Coleman hadn't landed a blockbuster role since childhood, fans have already begun outpouring their support on Facebook.
Overnight, I spoke with Gary Coleman's ex-wife, Shannon Price. She was at Gary Coleman's bedside when the actor passed away. And as you're about to see in this interview, she is still clearly fragile. She arrived in a wheelchair, looking very frail, and she stayed in that chair throughout the entire interview, even having to take a break when she thought she might be having a seizure.
I've had a lot of health issues in the last 2 months. As you guys know, I recently have seizures, and I've had a lot of anxiety. I really miss my husband a lot, and I can barely get around, and I mean, it's been a trial.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened the night he fell?
I asked him if he could make me some food, and he went downstairs, and I heard this big smack. I rushed down there and found him lying in a pool of blood.
You said, I've had a lot of speculation out there. I've had a lot of people sit there and say, yeah, she pushed him.
People can say whatever they want, because I know the truth. I would never hurt my husband, ever. I would, take my own life before I would ever harm him.
I would never hurt my husband, ever. I would, take my own life before I would ever harm him.
Coleman revealed today a shocking secret restraining order. In this thing, Gary claimed that his ex moved into his home while he was in the hospital and, quote, has shown a tendency to damage, destroy, and steal my property, and I believe she will continue to do so in my absence and while she is trespassing in my home. Now, I got to point out this restraining order was never actually served, but Carlos Diaz, this is certainly a far different depiction of their relationship than, the really happy one Shannon Price had been painting.
AJ, how does this not damage her claim on the estate? I mean, she's painting this picture of it was love. They were going to, renew their vows. She goes to the hospital the day that he's in the hospital before she pulled the plug and said, I'm still married to the guy. When in fact, they were divorced a few years before. And the guy is filing a restraining order less than a week after Valentine's Day of this year. And he's claiming the exact same things that she did after he died.
Claiming the exact same things that she did after he died.
But let me ask you, if I might, about the 911 tape.
Head is bloody. There's blood all over the floor. I don't know what happened. I really don't know how to sit down. Sit down. Gary, sit down. Look at the floor. Sit down. I just can't be here with the blood. I got blood on myself. I can't deal.
I was with him down there the whole time. I was trying to find towels and stuff like that. But yeah, seeing him in a pool of blood was difficult. I mean, if it was somebody else in my situation, I'm sure they wouldn't know what to do either.
At one point, you had to make a decision about whether to keep him on life support.
The doctors advised me that, it was grim and, he went into cardiac arrest as well. And so the doctors advised me that this is the best thing for him.
It was recently revealed that the couple, who were thought to be married, were actually divorced back in 2008, just shy of their first wedding anniversary. Explain to me how that is. You guys had gotten divorced and then reconciled?
We decided that wasn't what we wanted. We just had a disagreement, and after we both filed and it went through, we decided that wasn't it wasn't the right choice. We were gonna renew our vows soon, but our health issues got in the way, so we were unable to do that. Every couple, has their moments, and yeah, we had a lot of disagreements, but we loved each other. It was golden.
But the relationship did not always seem so golden in public.
We're not love-showy people. He do all that at home.
He's not romantic. He was always my husband, regardless of the divorce and what people say.
How is your financial situation right now?
We've been struggling a lot with financial stuff, but now that Gary's gone, it's a little bit more difficult.
This was Gary's last interview, 3 weeks before he died. He was lending his voice to an animated movie called Stardom.
Celebrity's always a burden. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you claim you like it.
Thank you so much. It has been 2 weeks since Gary Coleman suddenly died from a massive brain hemorrhage, and there are still lingering questions about the circumstances surrounding his death. There are also questions about the rights to his estate after his ex-wife filed a request Thursday to take it over. Sue and Willie Coleman are Gary Coleman's parents, and they graciously stuck around to talk to us exclusively. Good morning to you once again.
Good morning.
As I said when we talked in the last hour, this has to be a very hard time for you. Why did you decide you wanted to come here and speak out?
I basically want to say that I want all the talk to stop. Gary's gone. I want his body put away respectably so that we all can bring some closure to this part of him. I think with all the talk that's been going on, the people going on talk shows and saying this, saying that, some true, some not true, enough. Let's just put him away so his spirit can just go on to where it's going, and he's at rest. I know he is, and the rest of us need to bring some closure.
Well, at this point, your son has not even been buried, has he? Nothing has happened.
Not that we know of.
Not that you know of.
Not that we know of.
At this point, your son has not even been buried, has he? Nothing has happened.
Not that we know of.
Not that you know of.
Not that we know of.
And I've had a lot of speculations out there. I've had a lot of people sit there and say, yeah, she pushed him, this and that. People are so cruel, they don't even know. I was upstairs. He was downstairs.
That was a defiant look. I was upstairs. He was downstairs, defiant. It's like a petulant child throwing back stones at people who are trying to ask her questions. Right there, that petulant look. Absolutely 100% contempt.
How am I going to push him?
Okay, that's a problematic statement. And we'll
I was sad that happened. That's all. I was mad that something happened. More fun to find out what really went on. Maybe she might have done something. I wouldn't say that. But I would say that I need help. Something just smelled weird. That's all I said.
You know, that affected me more than anything because the scrutiny that just people come up with.
the scrutiny that just people come up with. Again, just, the word just is a qualifying statement. He's trying to say, and it can mean deception as well.
They're just heartless.
They're just heartless. Deflection.
Why would I want to hurt my husband? Are you kidding?
House, and she wanted, his truck and the whole thing, and that's exactly what he claims in this restraining order.
Yeah, it's exactly what he was so fearful about. And Gary did say he went on to file this thing in secret because he felt if she was given any warning, he said he feared that she would be vindictive and damage his property. Now, as Carlos mentioned, Shannon Price is trying to gain control of Gary Coleman's estate. I have to believe, Megan, this is going to seriously damage her case. I mean, how can she possibly get anywhere with it now?
Exactly. Restraining order or secret restraining order. It does not look good for Shannon Price. AJ, on top of that, of course, it was revealed that Gary Coleman signed a document asking to be left on life support, and we found out that Shannon Price said no to that, obviously pulled the plug. If they're a common law man and wife, which is her big argument, wouldn't you respect each other's final wishes?
Yeah, it brings up a whole lot of questions, particularly when you talk about the do not resuscitate order and all of those things, and I'm sure that's going to start to bubble up to the surface as well.
It's one of my wishes if they's going to go ahead and take care of, like burying him or either cremating him, please, by all means, go ahead and do that because his soul is with Jesus, in the bosom of Jesus, there for eternity. But it's his spirit is not going to rest until he's laid to rest. See? If you believe in God the way I do, this is the way I've been taught all my life. This is the way I was brought up through 4 different churches of religion that I have been a part of. That your soul is in the bosom of Jesus, but your spirit
lingers.
It lingers, yeah. Well, let me ask you what may be a difficult question. In the last years of your son's life, he was very bitter towards both of you publicly. He said,
there are definitely some enemies in my life that I would wish celebrity on.
Gary's parents say they have been trying to contact Shannon to find out more about the last hours of their son's life, but that Shannon will not respond.
My brother called them and talked to the mother and was like, if you have any questions, let me know. And she didn't really say anything. So, Gary's been estranged for them from 15, 20 years before I came into the picture, so.
And what's next for you now, do you think?
I don't know. It's up in the air. I gotta go on with my life, and I gotta be positive and think positive and get my health figured out and straighten out, and I just hope Gary's happy and, he's in a better place and he's not suffering anymore, with all the health issues he's had over the years. I'm just happy that, he's finally peaceful and at rest. We have discussed about death a few times, and he said it would be very unfair if he left me all of a sudden. And I really respect that, because I loved him and he loved me, and, we just can't live without each other.
Shannon also told us that Gary Coleman did not want a funeral or even a ceremony. He wanted to be cremated, she said. There are still no plans for a memorial as of this morning.
Do we know if he left a will or not?
Well, that's a real bone of contention right now. There's some reporting out there that he left a will in which he does not name Shannon, the executor. Her agent told us, of course, he wanted his wife or ex-wife to oversee the will.
Some might think a little suspect that she's saying they had planned to renew their vows. Other people hadn't heard about that.
Right. This is new information as far as I know.
All right.
Despite getting a divorce, she still lived with him and was the person to supposedly find his body. According to her, he was heading downstairs to make her some food when she heard a loud bang. When she went down and briefly glanced at him, she saw Gary on the ground surrounded by his own blood. It's what she did next that I can't wrap my head around. She didn't administer first aid. She didn't even check to see if he was alive. She went back upstairs and dialed 911, expressing reluctance to go anywhere near him. Coleman's career launched launched with a commercial in 1974, and soon he was making $100,000 per episode on the series Different Strokes. Sadly, as an adult, he had a hard time recapturing such success. Gary was rushed to the hospital where he had moments of consciousness before slipping into a coma. One day after that, the woman claiming to still be his wife pulled the plug. He died on May 28, 2010. It's reasonable to assume that he suffered a seizure that provoked his fall, but his former wife's demeanor and their tumultuous history raises suspicions. Gary suffered serious health issues that did cause seizures. Shortly after his death, Shannon attempted to sell photos of Coleman comatose in his hospital bed. Once it came to light that Shannon was not legally married to Coleman, a heated debate began as to whether she had the right to end his life support. But the hospital came forward with signed documents that granted her the right to make medical decisions. It's unclear how old they were. The coroner ruled his death an accident, and any investigations into Shannon ended. Of course, his autopsy was never publicly released, and his family still suspected her. Their feud tailspin so far out of control that they canceled Coleman's funeral. The sad reality is that nobody in Coleman's life cared enough to put him first. They allowed their anger and greed to completely overshadow his memory.
Police have confirmed that Different Strokes actor Gary Coleman's death has been ruled an accident. An autopsy found Coleman died of natural causes after an accidental fall. The 42-year-old actor died at a Provo hospital 2 days after his fall at his home in May. He was taken off life support after suffering a brain hemorrhage. Coleman's former wife, Shannon Price, made the decision to remove the actor from life support. Coleman's adult life was plagued by health and legal problems. According to a tally in early 2010, officers had been called to assist or intervene with Coleman more than 20 times. Some of the disputes involved Price, whom he met in 2006 and then married in 2007. The couple soon divorced but continued to live together and present themselves as married in public. Price has now petitioned the Utah courts to recognize her common law relationship with Coleman. She wants the recognition as part of a legal battle over Coleman's estate. Santaquin, Utah Police Chief Dennis Howard says the release of the autopsy brings the police investigation into the death to a close.
And I got this horrific phone call, obviously one that nobody wants to get. And the lady simply said, "Does Gary have a DNR?" And I said, "Resuscitate him." So what happened is they were taking him to dialysis, and he went into cardiac arrest. What most people don't know about that is he actually had major heart surgery in 2009. And they said he wouldn't live a year. And he did make it 6 months. He told me he loved me. And the next day, Thursday, like I had said, he went into cardiac arrest. I said, resuscitate him. I tried to save his life. I did everything I could. I was on his healthcare directive. And so, with that being said as well, my dad and I had gone there that afternoon, and he was already gone.
Just go back to the fact that, the lawsuit that he held against you, that's saying that you mismanaged his money. That was in 1993. There was a ruling, and you guys lost the case. And over the years since '93, there has been so many rumors and accusations against you, and yet you never came out to defend yourselves. Why not?
Well, really, Joy, we had nothing to defend ourselves for, because after all, like I said, when Gary turned 18 years old, we were, you know how you do a horse? We were put out of the pasture, okay? And so Gary took on a whole new branch of individuals that wanted to manage his career and also manage his money. So like I said before, what we, as the final figure, we turn over to him. What happened then, I don't know, but for us, the case, that we post them in laws, you know what that was all about? I explained to you. That was about a balloon, a bond that we had set aside in case Gary had a guy kidnapped. Okay, that's how that all come about. We had nothing to give up. We had nothing, we left California. Everything we had, like for instance, our pension plan that we had accumulated by working for Gary, everything. I even had to sell my Abbott stock, which was 7,000 shares, and also my Baxter stock, which was 3,000 shares. in order to try to maintain and keep afloat.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I'm just wondering why you didn't go on television to defend yourselves, because people were throwing a lot of bad accusations. You heard Todd Bridges, and the conventional wisdom for many years was that he was estranged from his parents because they stole his money, they mismanaged his money, and no one ever heard from you.
You know, we didn't really have anything to defend ourselves from. We did not take anything from Gary, and he knew that, and we didn't need to go on television and say, you know, we didn't or we did. And as far as Mr. Bridges goes, he has a book to sell, and, you know, I think his perspective of what happened way back when may be vary from what we saw way back then, you know, so... You know, I don't know.
So you felt, I guess you felt that your hands were clean and you didn't have any reason to be defensive. So,
Exactly.
Okay.
It's always a burden. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you claim you like it. You're stuck with it for life. You can't get rid of it. You're gonna die a celebrity, even if you hadn't worked in 20 years.
I don't care how much you claim you like it. You're stuck with it for life. You can't get rid of it. You're gonna die a celebrity.